Hi, everyone. There was a season of life where I felt completely buried, buried under housework, under homeschooling, under meals, under trying to keep everyone happy and hold everything together. I remember thinking peace is something I'll get to someday, maybe when life slows down. But guess what? Life didn't slow down. Instead, every season has its own busyness and things that can bury you. But by building a system step by step, that changed everything to help me keep focus. And today I want to take you a little behind the scenes and show you what it looked like, mistakes, breakthroughs, tears, and all. So stay with me to the end. I'm going to share the shift that finally brought joy back into my home. Hey, friend, I'm Laura from Day by Day in Our World, and I help Christian families create peaceful, faith-centered homes. Not because I have everything together. I don't. But because I know exactly what it feels like when life is anything but peaceful. This isn't a highlight reel. This is really my story. And I hope it gives you hope for your own. So I like to start in faith as for this and reflect on scripture. John 14:27 says, Peace I leave to you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. So keep in mind, God's peace and what we think about as peace might not be the same definition. Now, for years, I tried to build peace the world's way. Color-coded calendars, endless to-do lists. I mean, I do like myself a good to-do list, but when your to-do lists have to-do lists, it's getting a little bit out of hand. Trying to get more done, and I do feel like I try to squeeze as much as possible into my days and have to sometimes step back and consider what's important, trying to control every detail of what's going on, or stacking those routines almost like those Jenga blocks, like you're going to build a structure. I just kept thinking if I planned harder, I worked harder, organized better, then I would finally feel at peace. But guess what? That peace didn't come because true peace doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. The turning point for me was when I finally prayed, Lord, how can I serve you through how I run my home, how I raise my boys, the relationships I have with people? Turning it over to Him made everything shift. So before I came up with my peaceful home digital system, this is what life was like. I had sticky notes everywhere, piles of paper, which I still feel like they exist, but that's for other reasons. A calendar that sometimes got updated, sometimes didn't. More importantly, I might have had something on my phone calendar, on my work calendar, or on a paper calendar, and they didn't communicate. Meal plans that abandoned midweek, a chore system that just didn't hold, kids asking where things were, which even if you're organized, you'll realize they still do that. But more importantly, I was snapping because I was overwhelmed and felt so chaotic on the inside. It wasn't that I wasn't trying. I was trying so hard, but I didn't have structure. I didn't have clarity. I didn't have what some would call margin. I didn't have that space. And honestly, I didn't have peace. Now, the first step that I took was not fancy. It wasn't a planner, it wasn't even a routine per se, although you could say it is. It was simply deciding that morning prayer happens before chaos hits. Could be just reading a short scripture, a moment of quiet, a moment of surrender to God. Starting the day saying, Lord, thank you so much for this day. I don't know everything it's going to hold, but I know you'll be with me and guide me and help me do things for your glory. That tiny step opened the door to all the others because prayer reminded me I'm not alone. God cares about not just me, but my home. My worth is not tied to productivity, and peace is a gift, not something that I'm going to earn. So prayer realigned my heart before the day tried to pull it apart. Now, the second thing that happened. Okay, so I use something like this at work. I use something like this for my business, but I'm also using something like this to manage family life because in some ways, they're three separate silos. They do intersect. I do like to communicate between the three, but being consistent has been helpful. So I have what's called a command center or a command center dashboard. And this is something that's in the digital peaceful home planner that I have. I reminded for the day. I have what's important for our family. What is the goal for our family? In my case, we want to love and support each other with the ultimate goal of getting to heaven and knowing that we need to work together to have that happen. I have a scripture for the day. I have a prayer that comes from a prayer sheet. I can put my top three priorities, add different to-do tasks, and most use links. I haven't started adding that here, but I do have it on my business and on my work ones because you always have those handful of links that you want to find quickly and don't want to hunt through your bookmarks. Okay. So that kind of shows you what it looks like now. I didn't have those piles of sticky notes to follow. I didn't have multiple notebooks to have to go back and forth, multiple calendars to go back and forth, papers taped to the fridge. One spot where I can have a calendar, I can have my meal plans, my chores, my prayer needs, my schedules, my reminders, all of it together. That's what became the Peaceful Home Planner, the digital system that changed everything for me and for my family since I feel a little bit more organized. Because in part, for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to carry everything in my head. I mean, it's important to use our brain and not offload too much because we need to function. But there's times and seasons in our life that we do have too much to remember. So having a way to keep it secure and safe, perfect. Now, the next thing that I kind of moved on to is developing those rhythms. So rhythms becoming a system. Simple rhythms like planning meals on Sunday. At my house now, I don't do all the meals. I'm fortunate to have older children that each are responsible. I still have meals that I plan and cook, but they're responsible for theirs. However, planning out for the week, so, so helpful. A weekly family check-in. We just do it simple around the dinner table. The rotating chore chart, a prayer list. Oh my goodness. How many of you have said to a friend, I'm going to pray for you? And you maybe do it right there in the moment, and then it's quickly forgotten. Well, I have connected that prayer that pulls over is coming from a sheet where I can add each of the prayers. And then when they've been answered, or I no longer feel the need to be praying for that, I can mark it so it doesn't pull those over to remind me daily. None of it's perfect. None of it was fancy, but all of it was consistent and doable. So little by little, those became a rhythm, became a system. And that's the foundation for the faith-filled family membership because I knew other moms were drowning the same way I had been. Now, here's the part that surprised me. Maybe it shouldn't have. As my home became more peaceful, so did I. I found joy again, breathing room, laughter, and peace in the everyday chaos. Not because my home became perfect. Like I said, it's not. Loads of room to go still. But my heart became anchored and it was all reflected. Now, friend, peace is possible. Not someday, not when the kids are older, not when everything gets easier. Because trust me, it never will. The kids are older, but now I have an aging parent that needs help with care. I have another relative that needs help. And so I'm helping these other family members, even though I don't have real littles at home. Remember that peace starts with one small, faithful step today. You don't have to do everything, you just need to start. Now, the same system that helped me rebuild peace, like I said, is in the Peaceful Home Digital Planner. The link is below. It's designed to help you create calm, faith-filled structure in your home without overwhelm. And it's very customizable. If you have questions after purchasing, ask. Thank you so much for being with me. If the story encouraged you, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs the reminder that peace isn't about perfection, it's about grace.